Pete Luzak here, Bass University. I'm teaching today about the Ned Rig. Ned Rig has been, man, it's an incredibly effective tool that's been catching fish for everybody. You can put a Ned Rig in anybody's hands and eventually they're going to be getting into fish, any species. It's such a small profile, subtle technique that really catches them. But what I've really started working with is experimenting with the weights. A lot of times, Ned Rig fishing, you think about super light weights, super light falls, and allowing that bait to stand vertically on the bottom like this little Crush City does, that because they're buoyant and they'll stand up. And that is absolutely a great way to catch them. It's a finesse technique. But what I've started doing is bulking up the weight. And I like to do that a lot of times when I'm fishing in really deep water and when I'm fishing in the summertime. A lot of times as we get into the hottest part of the season, the fish can get really, really tough to catch. And by using a heavier weight on this little tiny bait, it zips to the bottom and scoots and darts and does some really, really cool things. So I love using a heavy Ned, and that's what I'm going to teach about today. And when I'm talking about heavy weights, they're not that heavy. This is a 3/8, half ounce, 3/4 is really the max, and it's really hard to find a good 3/4 ounce head that works with a Ned. But these little heads are fantastic. This is a little Kitech head right here. It comes with a weed guard, and this is fantastic when you're fishing around brush, any kind of habitat on the bottom. That little weed guard is helpful. But when I'm out in open water, when I'm fishing rocks, when I'm fishing sand flats, points, I like to take that weed guard off. It gets me a much better hookup, but I'm staying with that heavy weight. There's a lot of different shapes on the head. This is, I believe that's an actual Ned head right there. I'm not sure, but this is that you know what that is? That's a Woo tungsten head. It's a great little keeper. I really like that keeper. But once again, we're up in the 3/8 version, and you've got some other exposed style Neds that can really work well in open water. But like I said, the whole purpose is to be able to trigger strikes from fish that you just can't get to bite as easily, and that's usually happens in the summertime. How I'm fishing it, the line that I love to use is Cortland Master Braid. This is 10-pound test. I love to go to even 8-pound tests when I'm in the really deep stuff. When I see schools of fish out in that 20, 30, 40 foot zone, I'm gonna go down to that 8-pound test, because the really, really thin 8-pound allows me to get that bait super deep. Great feel, and the Master Braid has great hookups. It's braided line, very little stretch. On my leader material, I'm going to use depending on where I'm at. I'm anywhere from 8-pound up to even as high as 16 rarely, but it's usually 8 to 12-pound test. This is Gamma Edge fluorocarbon leader, and that's my setup for this technique. This is a 7-foot medium heavy Icon. I love to use the 4,000 reels on my spinning rods. This is something that, man, I'm a really strong proponent of, especially when you're making long casts. And that's what I'm doing with this technique. I'm bomb casting. Even if I'm in shallow water, I'm bomb casting. If I'm in deep water, I've got a lot of line out, and I've got to move that line and keep pressure on that fish. That 4,000 reel really lets me do that. It manages the line a lot better. I got a lot less line twist when I'm using the big reel. So I highly recommend using those bigger reels. I use them anytime I'm in a spinning rod application. So this technique is fantastic for fish that, when you're fishing deep, it's amazing for smallmouth, spotted bass, and even largemouth when they get that deep. But it's a heavy Ned technique. And I'm gonna put the trolling motor down, and I'm gonna show you how I work it, because this is a very, very important. It's a very erratic, pretty aggressive technique to trigger the strikes with this. Guys, this is the Heavy Ned Rig. I showed you the gear. We're gonna run it around the lake. I'm using the weed guard because we got wood and some cover around the banks. But I'm going to be fishing this a lot out off the points, off the drops, breaks, even in the deep water. That's where it really thrives, really excels. So let's get going down this bank here, and I'll show you how I do it. Big advantage of the Heavy Ned is if you have current or deep water, it's going to allow you to fish this bait very, very efficiently, whereas the lightweight ones, well, they'll just get washed away by the current, they'll get washed away by the wind. But I have, you know, a technique, and it's very similar that you may have heard, stroking a jig. It's very similar to the same thing. What I'm trying to do is get this bait to scoot, pop it up 6-12 inches off the bottom, and create that reaction strike. This bait can look like a crawfish, and I'm going to switch colors. I know there's a lot of bait fishing in the water I'm fishing right here. I can see them on the graph. It's going to fall quick, it's going to get down deep, and it's going to stay close to the bottom. But it's presenting really a finesse bait in a pretty aggressive style. Now you'll see me at times, I'm gonna have to slow down, like when I get around the wood. I just missed one right there. As I try to, you'll see me, like when I get around wood and that type of stuff, I'm gonna slow down and try to work, you know, pull it through the branches and let it get down in there. And this weed guard is going to allow me to do that. This weight is positioned is below the bend of the hook. Okay, so what happens is you have like a cantilever action when you set the hook. What the result is the fish stay pinned, especially the big ones. And that's been a huge difference, and one of the reasons why I really like this style of head. And we'll continue to use it. A lot of the heads will get bites, but the football style head has a tendency to catch a lot more fish. Dunk. Golly. Backing off the drag. What in the world do we got? I feel like I might have foul hooked him. I don't know. I don't know. He's a nice one. Come on in here with us. Ugh. Whew. There you go. Simple as that. You just had to touch them. Well, that's a nice chunk. Nice healthy bass. I like his spot right there. But it's a Heavy Ned, right? This is a technique I love in the deep water. And a lot of times in the warmer water seasons, it's at its best. But man, it can catch a lot of fish, big fish, but it can really trigger them in a way that really not a lot of other baits can do. And this is a Crush City Ned. We got where's the color combination on them right there? It's green pumpkin top with an orange belly. This is a new Crush City BLT, it's a killer. But give it a shot. You're having trouble triggering fish, especially if you can see them on your sonar. It's an amazing tool around rocks, points, drop-offs. Heavy Ned. Give it a go.